Hey and welcome, I'm Hammeh, and oh my, as Sunday draws to a close, probably wherever you are in the world, it has been leaks galore. Literally 5 days before BlizzCon that I'm going to be at, and I can share this with you, whatever it turns out to be. There have been a flurry of Overwatch leaks, and I've not reported on many in the last couple of weeks, but I think the combination of things coming together mean that some of these are certainly likely to be true. We definitely know some things. I would trust a certain source on what Overwatch 2 is going to contain, if indeed it's still going to be called that, but it does seem more likely. Bit of an odd name, I think. In this video, I'm going to be talking about what we're expecting for Overwatch 2, what source shared the likely information, what other leaks there are, reliable or not, and how they corroborate the info we have, and finally my quick thoughts on what this all means for what an Overwatch 2 could be. Now, timecodes are in the description below if you want to skip. So first things first, what are we expecting? Let's get straight to it. Hero talents and in-game items coming to Overwatch 2 PvE. Players playing as a team, perhaps in a 4-player story experience against the computer. Now, one of the missions is apparently going to be a 4-player experience set in Rio De Janeiro, as opposed to the sort of 6v6 gameplay in Overwatch as it is right now. And I don't think Overwatch as it is right now, even if the game is called Overwatch 2, is going to be replaced in any way, but more on that later. There's apparently a new game mode called Push, and it's going to be featured on a Toronto map, and then potentially a new hero, although that has even been in flux with articles being edited over the course of today. So a PvE game mode or type of game, certainly, whether it's a game solo, whether it's going to be combined with the existing Overwatch, whether it's an expansion, more on that later. We'll have a think about what it could mean. So where has all of this come from? Well, the core of where we analyse this from is an article released by ESPN. Now, Rob Breslau, also known as Slasher, is a long-term esports columnist who has covered and been involved with Blizzard games for quite some time, 10, 13 years or so. Now, he has recently been involved heavily in the Overwatch sort of competitive talk, commentary, punditry scene around it. And he also writes for ESPN, which is where this article is from. It's all linked, all the sources, by the way, are linked in the description below if you want to have a look. So, the article says that Blizzard will unveil the next iteration of Overwatch, featuring a new logo, new game modes, maps, heroes, and PvE features at BlizzCon this week, according to a BlizzCon source that Slasher and ESPN got, and a BlizzCon training document which included information about Overwatch 2 and was obtained by ESPN. You don't say that kind of thing in an article unless you really have a source, and because it's ESPN and because it's Slasher, putting all of these things together, I think this is pretty solid. The document offered a little things, including the things I mentioned: hero talents and in-game items, one of the missions being a 4-player story experience in Rio, and similar, and saying, oh, Blizzard did not respond to a request for comment. Well, that's no massive surprise. Also, 4-player story experience, very much like our existing experiences of archives missions. Apparently, much of the focus on the game, the mode, whatever this is going to be, will be on story and narrative elements. Overwatch will see its first new mode since the game was released in beta, with Push set to be unveiled alongside Assault, Control, Escort and Hybrid on a new map in Toronto. So we didn't get an Overwatch map, an animated short, earlier this year, so we now have a new game mode alongside a map that's being potentially announced at BlizzCon. So I feel that this is going to be the stuff for Overwatch as it is right now, and then the new game, we're going to get a taste of the new game with this first 4-player story experience. Both the PvE story and new game mode are expected to be available for play at BlizzCon this weekend, and potentially at least one new hero during the event. Now, I feel I should emphasise here that over the course of today, and you may have seen reporting earlier on Sunday, you may have seen videos earlier on Sunday if you're watching this on Monday, this has changed even over the course of today. It originally said that Echo was likely to be the new hero, and I sort of thought that this could be quite a likely opportunity, but that has been edited and said that it's potentially less likely to. Blizzard is now expected to announce at least one more new hero, or at least one new hero during the event. So I feel we could have the map, the new game mode and a new hero for Overwatch, quote unquote, or the game we have right now, and then we have this new game being announced, or new mode being announced, and this is the PvE story game, and we're going to have one such mission to play at BlizzCon, according to this document that ESPN have got their hands on. So all very exciting stuff, and to be honest, if you're someone like ESPN, you don't put yourself out there saying that you have a document or you've got this kind of source unless you've got something to back it up. So putting all of the factors together, I think all of this is pretty likely. Some of the details might be a little bit in flux, but some of those things are stated so boldly, and alongside this image as well that was the leader of the ESPN article. So this is Lucio, fixed in a certain style, fixed in a certain look, and with that Overwatch 2 logo. Now, earlier, before this article had been released, there had been another Tracer image doing the rounds with the exact same logo. There had also been a Coke promotional image as well. People will share on Twitter from Discords, and they won't source where it was from, maybe because they're trying to protect their sources, or maybe because they just don't know. So you almost get a little set of Chinese whispers of people sharing stuff and sharing stuff and sharing stuff and not knowing where it's from. So Query a bit, Nairi over on Twitter shared this Tracer image, for example. Now this has the same logo, and then we saw the ESPN article with Lucio with the same logo. Now remember what Lucio looks like, because we're going to come back to that in 3 images very, very shortly. ESPN leading with this Lucio image, which we haven't seen anywhere else, makes me think that they have it from this document that they've got their hands on, and therefore it's going to be Overwatch 2, and this is what the logo looks like. So that potentially, the ESPN article potentially verifies the image that other people have got their hands on, wherever they've got it from. Now remember Lucio's look, because we're going to go to 3 other images. Now, from digging around, I've found that basically, although these have been shared various places in various different ways, it seems that at least one of them originated on 4chan, and that thread is linked, archived in the description below. So if one was from 4chan, because of the similar visual treatment of these images, I'm guessing all 3 of them were from 4chan, although I can't find the posts for the Tracer image in terms of the talent tree and the screenshot. So let's look at the first one, which is basically a talent system for Tracer. So a talent system being skills, abilities, level up your hero. You know, you've done it in loads of different games. It's kind of MOBA-like, and we see Tracer at a level here, and she can pick stuff as she goes. Adaptive reload, pulse pistols, reloading when using any ability. Hindsight recall causes damage to all recently damaged enemies. So the original Overwatch 2 talking article, Jason Schreier's Kotaku article way back in June of this year, did talk about potential comparisons to Left 4 Dead and the ability to sort of be playing in a sense of a team of 4 people against the computer in sort of story style challenges or missions. Now this kind of system could work very well in that. It has been confirmed, as it were, by the Robert Breslau kind of ESPN article that we've just seen out today, talking about talent systems. So it's important to say that whether or not these are the actual talents, this image along with the other couple of images kind of pieced together to have a semi-convincing story about it all. Now, if you had the ESPN article on its own, then that would be interesting, and that feels like some kind of proof. You then have these 3 images showing up elsewhere, and some of these start to sort of cross over with some of the things in the ESPN article. So this crosses over with the talent system. Now remember that, of course, Project Titan, the game from which Overwatch kind of sprung, the failed Project Titan, was an MMO. This work of talents and systems and similar systems for classes as they were then, rather than the heroes, would have been in place. Tracers and Heroes of the Storm are MOBA, and that is of course had an entire talent and leveling up system. Yes, admittedly different type of game, different kind of play style, but that's already happened, and that thought has happened in a different Blizzard team too. There have been voice lines in the game, last but not least, that I've seen and have somewhere on a hard drive for absolutely years since Overwatch launched, about actually heroes talking about leveling up and things in various forms. So voice work was recorded for Titan or very early Overwatch that had leveling up involved, and then that got left on the shelf and then removed from the game. Stuff that is redundant in Overwatch voice lines and in files tends to get removed, so it's not just left there as a big repository, but that stuff existed and I have it. So an interesting image there. Perfectly possible, suits a PvE, player versus computer, player versus story type mode. Whether or not these are the real talents we will find out, but have a look at this second and third image and then see if you think that these are pulling a sort of cohesive story together when you cross-reference them with the ESPN article. So this is image number 2, purportedly an image, and we have all of these blue crosses, internal use only, Blizzard localization. That is a common trend throughout the 3 of these images that I've just shown you. Now, I've found the source for this on 4chan. So is Sojourn. We know what she looks like. We've seen her in a couple of different bits of literature. We've seen her with this kind of style look, of course, in the Storm Rising little dashboard as well of Tracer's bike. Now, interestingly, people have speculated, is this real, is this not? Well, if you look in the background, it's almost as if she could be on a hero select screen. That's what it looks like here. So this means it could be Toronto as a new map in the background for the push mode, or it could indeed perhaps be Rio for the story mode game. But either way, that very much looks like a hero select screen image. So finally, let's take that and cross-reference it as well as the Tracer image with this final image. So this image looks like it is either from a cinematic or an intro piece where we have Lucio in the outfit that he is in the ESPN Overwatch 2 header. Mercy there as well. We have a Crusader. I mean, it could be Reinhardt, it could be someone else. Let's find out. And then we also have Sojourn there. Now, looking back at the Sojourn image, we have Sojourn kind of set up there as well. Interestingly, she's kind of got a maple leaf on her shoulder. I don't know if you can notice that. We're going to be in Toronto, apparently, for a new map. Is Sojourn finally the Canadian hero that many people in the Overwatch team have wanted ever since the game actually released? So maybe Sojourn could be the Canadian hero that releases, and many different sort of things that people have wanted are coming together in one place. Now, of course, a story mission set in Rio offers many questions. If we have Lucio there, then Rio would make sense. What time is this set at? Is it post recall? Indeed. Have Winston's gang got back together? Is this another Crusader? Where has Sojourn been? And similar. The very fact that none of them are really sort of looking very Overwatchy, although they're an Overwatch style facility, makes it kind of think that, you know, this is probably present day post recall or something like that. And yeah, that could be rhyme with a bit. I mean, or it could be another Crusader, who knows? But let's assume that it's Reinhardt for now, in a little bit of a different suit. So if you take the look of Sojourn and match it to her image, if you take the look of Lucio in particular, I'd ignore the stuff behind his head, because if this is early sort of footage or things like that, then that might just be sort of his hair. Not properly rendered, no physics or something like that, so early on, you know, in terms of early stage visuals, that could be a thing. So if you're putting together Sojourn, and Sojourn, the look of her makes me think of the Sombra early images that we saw before Sombra was released. If you put together Sojourn and her look and how she looks in this bottom screenshot, if you take Lucio's look from the ESPN header image and put that in, if you then cross-reference, there have been other of these Overwatch logos coming together. All of this is coming together along with the ESPN facts that have been given from this sort of training guide that they appear to have got their hands on. It's feeling like we know a lot more about Overwatch 2, and it's actually going to be called Overwatch 2, which I'll be honest still surprises me a bit. So last but not least, with all of this, what could Overwatch 2 still actually mean? Well, is it a new game? You know, we don't actually know what the package is going to be, even if we know the name and some of what's going to be in it. We still don't know what the package is. So I think it can be a couple of things. You could have the existing Overwatch, quote unquote, plus this sold as Overwatch 2, and it's kind of a repackaging, a rebranding. People can buy the new stuff separately. If you've already got Overwatch, maybe you can buy the Overwatch story stuff separately, like a season pass, or you can pay for chapters or something like that, and you've still got existing Overwatch. And then in existing Overwatch, you're going to get Toronto and this new push map, and maybe a new hero, as the article mentioned, and the existing Overwatch as it is continues with all of your skins and all of your progress and all that kind of stuff. To me, that makes most sense, but it could be sold as a package as Overwatch 2, and that's what Overwatch 2 is. It's not a sequel, it's not a replacement, it's a package of which all of this stuff is part. Now, there is a piece here where you look at some of these screenshots and think, right, has there been an engine change? Have there been graphical upgrades and things? That they could say, this is the Overwatch 2 update, and we will sell it as Overwatch 2, but if you have existing Overwatch, then you will get a re-download of the new engine, the whole new game and things like that. So maybe if you're thinking, oh, graphically this looks different or better, or this could be different, I still don't think it's going to be a new game. You could just sort of offer a new download of something, or of a new client, or things like that, like Dota have done with updating their clients, if you're a MOBA fan or you hang about on Steam. That kind of change, same game, but new engine effectively. You do, of course, when you're doing this, need to explain to the community why the new engine is better, the physics, how it feels plays, graphics, all that kind of stuff. That's quite a big job. And remember that Overwatch is 3 years or so plus old. Now, a new engine after 3 years for Overwatch the core shooter feels like a very big undertaking. If it's like upgrades, changes, tweaks around the edges, I can see that as being more of a thing. And for those of you worrying about Overwatch 2 replacing everything that you have right now, I don't think... My gut feeling would be, people worried about that, it's not going to be a replacement or sequel. I think that's a new content, a mode, a way to play, as we've seen with this PvE mode, this story mode, and then a branding, a repackage of existing Overwatch, maybe with lots of tweaks around it, plus any new stuff. So, hey, we're going to find out in 5 days. I'm going to be at Blizzcon. I can't wait to share it all with you. A huge day for Overwatch there. Maybe it's taken a little of the wind out of the sails of BlizzCon, but I can't wait to find out and make videos about it. So, what do you think? Do you like the idea? Would you play this Rio mission? Do you like the idea of pushing a new mode? Rio, Toronto, story, Sojourn. Is this Reinhardt or not? I just don't know. I would love to hear all of your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, throw a like, subscribe, check out all of my Overwatch lore, voice lines, interactions, all of the stuff I've made over the last 5 years since Overwatch was first announced. We're going to be going into a new phase of Overwatch, and I'm going to be covering BlizzCon in 5 days' time. I cannot wait to be sharing that with you. And I'm going to go through all of the lore implications for this in videos before BlizzCon this week. Cheers for tuning in. I've been Hammeh. Thanks to my patrons on Patreon who support all of the stuff I've done over the last 5 years and more. They are fantastic folks. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Catch you soon. Take it easy.